Hey, I'm Randy Younger, New York City's go to film enthusiast. Every week, I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And with me tonight, I have a very special panel of guest critics. Back for more, we've got Mr. Tyler Michael. Welcome back, Tyler.
Thank you, Randy. I'm happy to be back.
And Mr. Ernest Salick. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Randy. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to see you guys. It's been a while.
It
Um,
has.
but I
Mhm.
think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about, some of the current films that are out there. Most specifically, the new Nosferatu remake, and this is a modern retelling of the 1922 silent horror classic Nosferatu. And this one is written, produced, and directed by Robert Eggers, and it continues the story, the trend of telling this story, which has been remade a couple of times over the past few decades. And I mean, this film is beautiful. I didn't think it was a perfect film, but it had a lot of perfect qualities. Most specifically, the production design. You actually feel like you're transported to the 1800s. At least so I would assume.
Hmm.
It's very atmospheric. It looks beautiful. It's a gorgeous film, and I would credit that to Eggers, and also from the cinematography by Jaron Blaschke, which is just also gorgeous. This film looks the way it should, and I really couldn't take my eyes off it. I was just really like mesmerized. I was almost like I was under Nosferatu's spell watching the movie, which was pretty cool, I must say. And also the performances were top notch. We've got Bill Skarsgård who plays the title character really well, I must say. He makes it his own version, which is fantastic. We
Hmm.
also have Nicholas Hoult as the husband of the girl who's being seduced and haunted by Nosferatu. She's actually played by Lily Rose Depp, daughter of Johnny. And to round things out, we have the always wonderful Willem Dafoe, who plays a professor of the occult who is trying to get to the bottom of Nosferatu's evil reign. This
Hmm.
movie is really good. It's a strong film, a great way to finish out the year, and I guess a good way to start Christmas too. I don't know, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I really I thought it was a strong horror film, and I want to hear from you guys. Ernest, after you, sir.
Please, I insist you
Certainly,
go
certainly.
first.
Yeah, I mean, all around, I am a Robert Eggers fan. I have to tell you the truth, that first and foremost. So I had high hopes for this movie. Remakes of this movie have come and went, and I assume that they're just going to keep happening because it's a timeless classic. It's one of those kind of movies. And the machine that is the studios, they'll do anything to make a quick buck. But for Eggers, overall, I have to agree with you, Randy. I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed the imagery, the direction of the movie. I did feel like I was transported to like Victorian times, the macabre. Just the coloring of the whole movie is just it's so true to itself. And I expected nothing less. So I do feel from a visual front, you're right. Eggers did deliver and then some
Yeah.
because there was certain nuances in the movie that I noticed that I knew paid tribute to the original, but
Mm.
then at the same time, like was a new spin, a new flavor on things, which
Right.
you got to do, for general audiences. I mean, a lot of people today couldn't probably even watch the original Nosferatu because of its age, and it's a relic of its time, even though we respect it because it's historical cinema.
Right.
Um, but I have to say, on the forefront, he delivered. The cast was exceptional. The new Nosferatu, I enjoyed. I enjoyed for. Most of the movie, actually. I don't want to get into it too much right now since we're still discussing the movie. But yeah, the end of the movie left me a little dry.
Mm.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Um, Overall, I have to say it's a good transition for what today Nosferatu would look like as a movie. I'll also say that. And I enjoyed the dialogue and a lot of the vampiric powers that took place in the movie, which I was hopeful to see. Randy, you and me discussed that before the movie came out, and it was great to see because I like all that mysticism and supernatural prowess, vampire lore. You know, if you watch enough movies, you know what I'm talking about, dark gifts and such.
Mm.
Um, just a great representation all across the board. But then I don't know if we're going to discuss the end of the movie and such. Maybe we should save that for later. I don't want to give you my final opinion on the movie just yet, I think.
Well, I should have, started the show by saying, and you guys know that when we discuss new films, it's a spoiler-free zone. I
Of
can't,
course, of course.
because this movie is still pretty fresh, so there's people out
Right.
there who haven't seen it. So yeah, Ernest, I know you weren't thrilled with the final act, and
That's
I
right.
understand that, but try to contain yourself when revealing, please.
Okay.
I
No, most definitely. Without giving a lot away, I'll say this. The end, the final act, or I should say, the last 30 minutes of the movie,
Hmm,
it was good. It was solid. It was serviceable, you know? But compared to the first act and second act of the movie, which really had me in its grip, the
hmm,
movie had me in its grip. You know, I was invested in the movie. I didn't take my eyes off of it at all. And I just felt like for some reason, for me personally, the last act or the final 30 minutes of the movie, let's say, it wandered off that great level that the movie started with. The expectations were so high for me watching the movie and being engrossed by it that I felt that the end just didn't match the energy, I'll say.
yeah. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Kind of tapered off and kind of just didn't
Yeah,
just didn't end on a big note. I get you. I hear you. Uh,
right, right.
Tyler, what about you, sir? Well, I know you're a horror guy. I know you do the
Mhm.
cosplaying and you
Well, I
work.
don't cosplay, but I
Oh, I'm
do
sorry,
like going
no,
to
the
convention.
the haunted house activities.
Oh, yes, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, I want to make this clear that Nosferatu, the original 1922 silent film, still one of my favorite horror films of all time. And its remake from 1979 really surprised me because I thought nothing could top it. So hearing that Robert Eggers is directing a remake in 2024 and hearing the good reception it was getting, I was excited. Now, admittedly, I've never seen a Robert Eggers film yet. So
Okay.
this is my first one. And I can only pray to God that his films are better than this one. I was really disappointed with this
Oh no.
movie. Now, I want to make this clear and say it's a passable movie in my eyes. I don't think it's one of the worst remakes I've ever seen. There is respect to the source material, but also changing it around, which I'm all for. It does look visually good. Um, from a lighting, from a set level, even the color palette. I will give it that. The performances, I can't really say there was a single performance I did not really like. With that said, however, this film to me, when I was 5 minutes into the film, I already knew the film was going to be in trouble. Right in the first 5 minutes, when we were getting to our first scare, we get a cheap jump scare focused on loud noises and a generic vampire design. And at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hope the film does not carry on with that. And I don't mind the film going darker. I don't mind the film getting bloodier. I don't mind it exploiting, sexual themes if it had to. My problem is, it seems like it scares are more focused on shock value in the cheapest way possible. Like the constant people waking up, that got annoying after a while. The blood feels exaggerated. The sex appeal feels forced. The jump scares, oh my gosh, that's what all these buildup is. You see, what I loved about the original Nosferatu is it was based on atmosphere and presence and anticipation of the vampire. It's the capability of what he can do. Like the simple image of him walking through a door that's the same size as him. and about to eat his prey is more frightening than just immediately having him attack by using loud sound effects. Again, jump scares that have no payoff or little payoff. To me, it just felt very pretentious and obnoxious.
Hmm.
I will say this, I do like the performances. But again, there wasn't really a performance that really stood out. Everybody seems to have the same monotone performance. I
Hmm.
mean, they're not bad performances, but they're not memorable. And again, looking at it from a visual standpoint, it's good. It's well done on a technical level. What people are praising it are correct, but I don't think it's ever going to be memorable as the other two. Because when you watch the original films, they feel like a nightmare. They feel surreal. You feel like you've entered another world, even though this is supposed to be a period piece. And this film feels more like it's period first, abstract visual second.
Interesting. Now you touch,
And
yeah,
and the last thing I just want to mention is I was surprised that Bill Skarsgård, I'm sorry if I'm
Skarsgård.
excuse me for mispronouncing his name, but I was really thrilled that he was playing Nosferatu because I did like him as Pennywise, even though I am a bigger fan of Tim Curry as Pennywise. But here, he has a very intimidating voice, but his design is just as boring as the
Yeah.
scenery. He's very forgettable. When I think of the other Nosferatus, they had a very distinct design. And on one hand, I kind of like that the film it's not totally copying Nosferatu, but I would expect some familiarity, and I don't get that. And what
Hmm.
I get is a design that I'm pretty much going to forget or mistake him for Eggman from Sonic.
Yeah,
So,
Interesting.
I wasn't thrilled by the character design of Nosferatu in this one. He was just a little too big, like a little too hulking and intimidating, and he had a weird mustache. He didn't like rem I didn't think Nosferatu when I looked at him, right away.
me neither.
I mean, but I'll give Bill all the credit because I think he did a decent job with the voice.
Oh, definitely. That's
Like
what made the performance, in my opinion.
because Bill's like in his early 30s and he managed to sound like a guy in his mid 50s and he was totally immersed in the role. But it didn't like feel like Nosferatu. Like when you think of Nosferatu, you think of the very slender, walking up the stairs. We didn't really have that. We had some moments of the shadow of Nosferatu's hand going, on the sheets and the blinds of the apartment. It I don't know. I think I agree with you on that in that respect. But the visual style is what really captivated me. And it is a very pretty film to look at, but I guess deep down there's not much there. Um, there were a few jump scares, which I did not mind. I didn't love it, but it is what it is. But I
There were a few scares that I thought were that were legitimately chilling.
yeah.
If you don't mind me sharing, I will keep it
As
to a
long as it's not a spoiler.
no, I will keep it to let's just say that I will give you the least spoiler scare I can think of. Let's just say the reveal of him in his coffin, that was a pretty scary
Oh,
and grotesque image. That's all I'm gonna say.
right. And
I
there was
think what follows was over the top and extreme, but
Mhm.
I do think the reveal was very chilling. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. You know what I would expect this remake to really do when it shows him sucking people's blood? And they do it in one scene. I won't tell you what scene it is, but there's a scene where he's actually silently sucking someone's blood and you're
Right.
listening to the sound effects.
Right.
Mhm.
That is an eerie scene, and that's what these payoffs I would expect in
I
Nosferatu.
remember.
Right.
I
Not
And
something
remember.
that jumps at you, not
right.
something that says, "Hey, I'm sucking blood." Ah, listen to the music, listen to the sound.
Yeah.
No, it just takes its time. It's
Yeah. You
and
had
that's what
the
I feel is where the heart of the scares of the original two Nosferatus lie, and its
it's
atmosphere, its
yeah, you're
eerie
talking about
nature.
the slurping sound effect of the yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty freaky. I
exactly,
wanted
and it
I
didn't feel
wanted
over the top.
but Tyler, you did touch on the remake, the 1979 version, and I agree with you. That one was like you were almost in a dream. The whole movie was like you're kind of floating, and it's a really beautiful film. It's directed by Werner Herzog, and who's an acclaimed director. And I think he took the source material and he kind of elevated it a little bit and made it his own. And I actually felt kind of sorry for Nosferatu, for Count Orlok in that way.
Hmm.
You know? He was like a kind of a sympathetic character.
Hmm.
But
And yeah, it felt very fresh and new. It was a really
yeah,
refreshing take.
it was great. Yeah, I enjoyed that one really well. Um, Ernest, did you catch the 79 film?
Unfortunately, no, I missed out on that one. I've seen the original and I've seen Shadow of a Vampire.
Which is a perfect segue into our second review of the night, uh,
Hmm.
Children of the Night. No, so we've got Shadow of the Vampire, which was it's an interesting take on actual events. It really embellished the events, and basically it follows director F.W. Murnau back in 1922 when he shot the original Nosferatu and how
Mm.
his set and crew are terrorized by the actor Max Schreck, who plays Count Orlok in the film. So it's basically a movie within a movie, and it is so good. I actually enjoyed this one more than the current Nosferatu. I'll be honest with you guys. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. It was creepy. You've got John Malkovich, the always great Malkovich, as F.W. Murnau, basically trying to make this film at all costs. He's trying to make Nosferatu, and he's a German director. He's met by opposition, and there's crazy stuff going on, especially with Max Schreck, the actor, who he finds like in a cave or somewhere, and
Yeah.
basically Max Schreck is very method and wants to stay in character during the entirety of the whole shoot, and he starts killing people on set, and it's crazy. And obviously this film has, it's very dramatized, it's very exaggerated, but I think it tells the story of how Nosferatu came to be, in a really fun way. I really love the dark humor. I love that type of humor, and
Mm.
Malkovich and Defoe are brilliant. Defoe was actually nominated for an Oscar for his performance in this back in 2000. And yeah, it's just I can't wait to watch it again, actually. I thought it was so much fun, so well done. And yeah, Ernest, what were your thoughts on Shadow?
Uh, Overall, I found it to be an enjoyable movie. Uh, Malkovich, he really brought the insanity to the director. Again, exaggerated. This movie's exaggerated, but it's almost as if like if you are an elite fan like of Nosferatu, the original, this movie's tailor made for you. That's how I feel. I feel generally people will enjoy it, if they keep an open mind. But if you're a fan of Nosferatu, this is a love letter to you, basically. I thought Willem Dafoe, as always, he delivers. The man never disappoints. Randy, I know you're a huge fan, and
Mhm.
from some sort of twist of causality you mentioned again, which is true. Willem Dafoe is in the current Nosferatu remake as well.
Right.
They just can't escape him. I think he did a great job. He pretty much carried the whole movie for me. I thought again Malkovich did a great job too, but at best as a supporting actor, he just stole the show. Willem Dafoe just completely stole the show. I thought that there was great use of dark humor, as well as some good character development even in the end, when they're trying to come to terms and to shoot the movie, and Max Schreck has all of these crazy demands, and Malkovich's character is going to such great lengths because he himself sees himself as this great director without even having a directorial debut yet. you
Mhm.
know uh, it's really off the wall, and that's what makes it work. I enjoyed it. I think at the end, it's a solid movie, I'd say. But again, if you're a Nosferatu fan, then even more so for you.
Yeah. Hence why I thought it was very appropriate that we review it alongside the new film,
No, definitely, definitely.
No
and
question.
yeah, Tyler.
Okay, so fun fact, when I first saw this movie, I was confused. Like I understood the concept, but I was just like, what is this going for? It feels so wild. When it was over, I was thinking to myself, what did I just watch? What stayed with me were the visuals, the concept, and Willem Dafoe. But then when I watched it again to do a review on the film for my blog, I actually loved it better than I thought. And every time
Hmm.
I see it since then, it just gets better and better. This
Hmm.
is an amazing concept because people have sworn that Max Shrek in the original film looks so real. They swore that F.W. Murnau filmed an actual vampire. That's how good the original
Right.
Nosferatu is. And to
Yeah,
have a
made that
film
impact.
centered around that, is just an ingenious concept that opens to many comedic possibilities. And I will say this, what I really love about the film, I mean, the main thing I love is the contrast between F.W. Murnau and Max Schreck
Mhm.
because they are both monsters, but they're different kinds of monsters.
Right.
I
I
love
agree.
that Willem Dafoe, he is a monster. He's a vampire, but he only eats to survive and he is old. He can no longer do the things he used to do as a vampire. All he has left is just feeding.
Right.
Um, F.W. Murnau, what does he do? He's willing to put people's lives on the line. He's willing to sacrifice an actress just to get his vision done,
Yeah.
Mhm.
just to have an authentic vampire movie,
Yeah. They're both
making him the true monster of the movie because he's doing this for selfish reasons, while Max Schreck is doing it just to survive because
this.
that's the law of the vampire. And I like how it's not spelled out to you. It's
Yeah.
actually done in very subtle comedic dialogue,
Right.
which a lot of that went over my head in first viewing, which is why I didn't get to appreciate the humor as much.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is great, even though it's loosely based on true events. And it's just a really fun ride. And I love that you said that, Tyler, that they're both monsters, but different kinds of monsters. I also wanted to mention that Max Schreck was the name of Christopher Walken's character in Batman Returns. And
Yeah.
I
Bruce
never
Wayne, why you dressed like Batman?
because he is Batman, you moron. Yeah, so I never connected that those dots when I was a kid, but then like, whoa, okay, interesting parallels there. So yeah, it's really all about monsters and just doing things selfishly or out of survival. And
Mhm.
yeah, this movie, yeah, I've only seen it once, and it's fantastic. I can't wait to see it again. And yeah, so that's Shadow of the Vampire. I wanted to mention it was directed by E. Elias Merhige. I probably butchered that, but yeah, I think I'm going to check out his stuff too, which is yeah. So it's a very talented filmmaker and really respectful of the source material and kind of putting a fresh spin on it. So that's pretty good. So. So okay, so we got the original, which is a classic. We've got the 79 version. I know there was a TV movie in the 70s as well, Salem's Lot, which the character the vampire character in that was heavily influenced by Nosferatu. Then we have the 79 version, which is fantastic. And then there's really nothing between, or I could be mistaken. Tyler, you might know this. Was there any Nosferatu type film or TV series between 79 and our most recent?
Well, I don't know the exact year,
Mhm.
but I did hear that there was a shot-for-shot remake or a near shot-for-shot remake of Nosferatu that
Right.
used a lot of digital effects for it. And I don't know the whole history of it. I just found this out a little while ago, just from word of mouth. I didn't look into it, but that's what I'm familiar with. Um, just a fun fact, my first introduction to Nosferatu was actually in SpongeBob because Nosferatu makes a cameo appearance flickering the lights and they just go
That's right.
Nosferatu as if they know him all along. So I'm just saying
Yeah,
Nosferatu, my point is Nosferatu is still popular in the mainstream, even though audiences don't
definitely.
even recognize him
Oh, sure. You know that
or
the
haven't seen the film.
that bald head, those ears and the teeth. It's a very iconic look, and it's like it's tattooed on my brain and the collective consciousness of cinema goers everywhere. But yeah, no, Nosferatu is indeed a classic, and the 1922 film will stand the test of time. It's really it must be preserved.
It does. And if I may
I
just
agree.
say one thing about the 1922 film, for
Mm.
those who haven't seen it, please see the Kino edition.
Okay.
because the Kino edition has more subtitles. It uses the original score. It uses color tinting to distinguish night from day and sunrise and sunset. It's definitely the definitive version, in my opinion.
And not yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
not just for cinephiles like us, but for casual moviegoers too. They should definitely
Exactly.
check out that version for sure. So gentlemen, we have a couple of minutes left. I just want to go around favorite vampire movie that's not Nosferatu. Ernest.
Oh, okay. You kind of caught me off guard with this one. I'm going to be
Hey.
honest with you. Can we come back to me? I just need a little time to cook.
Okay, okay,
I
I
yeah.
can
just,
answer that on my
We'll
end.
circle back. Tyler, how about you? I
hmm.
know this is the spur of the moment. It just
It
came to
is spur of the moment, but I have an answer for that, surprisingly.
okay.
Honestly, my favorite vampire movie is actually from Dusk Till Dawn.
Nice. Great.
Ah,
I mean,
interesting.
yes, if I had to say favorite Dracula movie, I would have said Dracula with Christopher Lee, the first one, otherwise known as Horror of Dracula.
Nice.
But my favorite is From Dusk Till Dawn because it's a film that gives you something different and becomes something else. And I really love how it merges these genres together, pays tribute to the classic vampire films, while also adding in exploitation films and new tropes that are common knowledge at the time, while also satirizing it as well. So that's my
Oh,
favorite.
nice
Hmm,
response for
interesting.
us for a
Interesting.
spur of the moment answer. That was really good. I'd say for me, I really love 1985's Fright Night. I think that's a fun
Hmm.
one. It's kind of like the boy who cried vampire, and he's basically nobody believes him except for Peter Vincent, the vampire, the great vampire hunter, and they join forces and they go on this crazy adventure and try to kill Jerry Dandridge, the vampire who has moved in next door and who starts to kill people in the neighborhood. I think that's a really fun 80s quintessential 80s horror film. And also, I wanted to mention, and I believe today is Nicolas Cage's 61st birthday. And I
Huh.
wanted to
Hmm.
mention that one of my favorite Cage films is Vampire's Kiss, which
Ah,
is a completely wacky horror comedy in which Cage thinks he's turning into a vampire. He may or may not be. If you haven't seen the film, I'll leave it up to you to check that out. But it's Cage at his cagiest, and it is a really good quote unquote vampire comedy. So that's Vampire's Kiss from 1988. So check that out if you can.
now
Um,
that you've mentioned Nicolas Cage, prior to this, we spoke about Nicolas Cage competing for the role of Max Schreck in Shadow of a Vampire at one point.
That's right.
Hmm.
That's right. Thank you, Ernest, for giving us that insight there.
I
See,
just remembered because you mentioned Cage. I just
yeah.
remembered.
I mean, it's all connected. And he was Dracula about 2 years ago in the movie Renfield,
Right.
which also starred Nicholas Hoult, who's in the new Nosferatu.
Causality, I swear.
Isn't that crazy? Like
It's
these
mad.
actors, they love to work with each other. They love vampires. It's a very
Yeah,
popular.
certainly.
So.
Certainly.
So, guys, we're about out of time, but Nosferatu is currently in theaters, so check that out. And more importantly, I'd say Shadow of the Vampire is streaming on Prime Video, and you can rent that. And it is totally worth the $3.99. Please go out and see that movie. It's so good. Um, before we head out, gentlemen, do you have any plugs? Is there anything you're working on? Any projects? Tyler,
Just check out my profile, my blog, Tyler the Movie Maniac. I'm almost done my Bond video game ranking. I'm gonna reveal my number one favorite this month, so be on the lookout at tylerthemoviemaniac.com.
beautiful. Looking forward to seeing that. Ernest, anything cooking?
I'm looking forward to a hopefully strong year for cinema this year. Last year was lacking, so I'm hoping we can get some seats and some chairs and some theaters with our suggestions.
Yeah, I hope so too, and I think we will because tonight this was a good episode, strong episode, and an episode you could really sink your teeth into. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it.
It was a
But
given. It was a given.
indeed, indeed. As for me, you can check out the new episode, well, this episode rather, of Under the Radar on Slam Radio, and that's on Sirius XM channel 145. Every Thursday, we have our new episodes at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and also on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And always, as always, we have the video version of Under the Radar on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and that's every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And of course, feel free to subscribe to the Under the Radar YouTube channel. So, gentlemen, thank you. This was great. Great episode as always. And it was really fun talking about Nosferatu.
Most
So,
definitely.
all right,
Thank you for
guys.
having me.
Yeah, anytime, guys, anytime. So, this has been Under the Radar. I'm Randy Unger. This is bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.